Welcome again to Joe Stunner Boxing. So Hamzah Sheeraz kind of makes a statement by absolutely obliterating Dmytro Mytrofanov of the Ukraine. He destroys him on the undercard of the Usyk Dubois heavyweight title fight. Destroys him in 2 rounds. Actually, it's probably less than 4 minutes, I think. And he scores 4 knockdowns in the process. The first thing to comment on, both fighters undefeated. Mytrofanov had 13 wins, no draws, no defeats, 6 KOs. Sheeraz, 17 wins, 13 KOs, no draws, no defeats. But to look at them, it was almost comical because this is at middleweight and Hamzah Sheeraz is 6'3", Mytrofanov 5'8", and I mean, it looked like there was more of a difference than that. I mean, that's, what is that, 7 inches difference? Well, yeah. I mean, virtually a head and a neck taller than Mytrofanov was Sheeraz. And it kind of went as you might expect. I mean, I thought that if Mytrofanov could get out the early rounds, he might make things awkward. And I thought he'd go a lot longer than this. But Sheeraz just didn't let him get out of the trap. Straight away, Sheeraz with a beautiful, lovely sort of textbook punches, a nice stance, very well positioned, very well balanced, really beautiful stuff. Kind of, pumped the jab and was hanging a lot of crosses off the jab. There was, in the first round, there was he tried a very good left hook to the body. I mean, about minute and a half in, and then he a split second later, there was a right uppercut came under. So, he was really, from the word go, he was letting his punches go and showing all these really good, well-schooled punches that he's got in his arsenal. Now, Sheeraz, we kind of know, I mean, he's only 24, but we kind of know that if you let him do that, if you let him box in a sort of fluid, conventional manner, he can do that all night. And if you go back, 4 or 5 fights to the Bradley Skeet fight, Skeet, an older veteran, made things very, very awkward for Sheeraz because he didn't allow Sheeraz to get comfortable and to find his rhythm. And if you remember that fight with Skeet back in 2021, you'll remember that, I think it was the back end of 2021, like November, December sometime. Skeet was hit when he was down. I think he was down in the 8th, and then he was hit when he was on the floor. And a lot of people felt that Sheeraz should have been disqualified in that fight. And I'm one of them. I do think it was a disqualification offence. But nevertheless, since then, and bear in mind, like I say, he's only 24. So going back to then, he was 22, something like that, just turned 23. Since then, he's beaten Jez Smith in 2 rounds. Francisco Emmanuel Torres in 5, and then last time out he got rid of River Wilson Bent in 2 rounds. So he's got the power and he's got the technique. But if you can unnerve him, if you can unsettle him, you can cause him problems, as Bradley Skeet proved, even though there was that controversial ending. Well, Mytrofanov didn't get a chance to do that, simply because I think the dimensions were just too much for him. I mean, Sheeraz is an orthodox fighter, as is Mytrofanov. But sometimes when you get a much shorter fighter, it can actually be advantageous if you make yourself even smaller. And Mytrofanov seemed to be, he's obviously, from the word go, he wanted to get in close, and I assume he wanted to work the body. He wasn't getting a chance to do anything, really. But he just didn't seem able to sort of unnerve Sheeraz in any way. And the first knockdown in the first round came from a jab. Sheeraz was putting some meat behind the jab as well as his backhand shots, and he kind of sat Mytrofanov down. And then Mytrofanov was over again. I can't remember which punch it was. So that was 2 knockdowns in the first round. The third knockdown, I think it was a right cross that kind of made Mytrofanov stumble, and he put his glove on the canvas, and the referee rightly called it a third knockdown. So that's a 10-6 round for Hamzah Sheeraz in the first round. Absolute disaster of a round for Mytrofanov. And, he went back to his corner and I guess he was shell-shocked because he came out and he wasn't really, he was trying to get in close, trying to get, up close and personal and where he could maybe bang the body or just land some sort of punches. But he couldn't get near him, and every time Sheeraz would let his punches go and he'd connect, he was rattling Mytrofanov. And Mytrofanov, of course, was a little bit reticent to come in, so he was sort of standing back a bit, and then he was kind of caught in no man's land. And then within the first minute of the second round, there was another big cross from Sheeraz, which put Mytrofanov over heavily. His eyes were clear. He got up straight away, was bounced up and down, but the referee just said, "No, no more." I don't know, premature stoppage maybe. I mean, Mitrofanov was getting his arse handed to him, but at the same time, it wasn't like he was staggering all over the ring. He was getting rattled. Make no mistake about it. And it was, Sheeraz didn't put a foot wrong or lay a glove wrong, you could say. But at the same time, if his eyes are clear, even if he's going on the floor a lot, and they're from legitimate punches, but he's getting up and coming back, I haven't really got a problem with it carrying on. But this was, if you look at Mitrofanov's record coming in, I mean, almost all of it was in Ukraine. There's no one. I think I recognise one. A senior Byfield was a 10-round decision for Mytrofanov. That was in Ukraine back in, I think, 2020. I couldn't really see anyone else that I recognised. He'd been in with a lot of journeymen. He had beaten a couple of Ukrainian fellas with undefeated fighters whose names I weren't really familiar with. But there was no one on it, and clearly this was too much of a jump up for Mytrofanov against Sheeraz. But Sheeraz looked good. He looked under the lights. He's away. He's in Poland. He's, like I say, only 24. All that experience of getting under the bright lights, going away from home, and remaining so composed and relaxed. And he barely broke a sweat. I mean, it was a very, very impressive performance. Even though you could say Mytrofanov was out of his depth and got ambushed, at the same time, sometimes it is the manner in which a fighter gets their work done. And I think Sheeraz did perfect. I mean, he didn't put a glove wrong. He really didn't. It was really impressive. So if you saw this fight, what did you think? Where do you think Sheeraz is going? He's the Commonwealth champ. He picked up the WBC silver middleweight title, which gets him a ranking. And yeah, I mean, I just think he's very, very good. He's very, very good, and potentially a world champion if he lives the life, carries on listening, carries on working hard. He can go places. But let me know what you think. Comments below as always. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit the like button if you don't mind, and spread the word about Joe Stunner Boxing. We've got the big one to come, which of course is Usyk and Dubois, and I'll do a video for that. Until then, bye for now.